Hi, I'm Raymond from ASC, and in this video, I'm going to tell you about the UI elements of your SlumberTek inside of Home Assistant. So there are two things you need to have done before getting to this point, which is one, you need to have installed the firmware for your SlumberTek. So the video that describes how to do that, the link is in the description, and also I'll put the thumbnail up here, somewhere up here, so you can see that. And the second thing you need to do is you need to have physically installed your SlumberTek underneath your mattress. There's another link in the description, which is actually the video that explains a little bit more about where to put it underneath your mattress and some tips. Okay, so if your device is underneath your bed and it's got its firmware and it's plugged in, then these elements should show up on your Home Assistant UI in the overview section or wherever you put it. So the most important one is at the top, which is calibration. So if this is the first time you've set up your device, or you've taken your SlumberTek out and you put it into another bed, or you've changed mattresses or something like that, you're probably going to want to do another calibration. So the calibration, there's actually a tooltip on here expressing what you're supposed to do, but basically you turn on this button, so you flip this switch, you then lay in bed for about 30 seconds or so, maybe a bit more, and then you get out of bed and you come over back to your UI and you turn this off. Now what this would look like, so if you go into your history and you go and pick your SlumberTek device, you can go in, and I've already queued this up for the calibration I did earlier. So there's a lot of things going on here, so we're going to ignore most of them. But for the calibration, so I turned on the calibration button here, and everything, all these lines in here, which have to do with calculating whether or not you're in or out of bed, they're all thresholds, all get reset. And then when you get into bed, they begin to kind of spread back out again, and ultimately will decide on a new threshold of when the device believes you're in or out of bed. Again, you only need to do this when something major happens, new mattress, you move it from one bed to another, something like that. Typically, or day to day, there is actually an auto calibration that happens that adjusts these in and out thresholds just a little bit for fluctuations of kind of day to day and week to week changes. Helps just to keep the device a bit more accurate over time. Okay, so if you want to know anything about all these other lines and all these other elements, then you can go to docs.asc.com and you can go to the SlumberTek UI. There's a lot more details about all these different lines and sensors over here. Okay, this next element is called the transition to off delay, and this is the amount of time, consecutive time, that SlumberTek needs to measure that you are out of bed before it sends a signal to Home Assistant that you are clear of your bed. And then the opposite is true then for the transition to on delay. So now this is the amount of time that you must consecutively be detected by the SlumberTek device before it will send a signal to Home Assistant that you are in bed. This is really helpful for if for whatever reason there's a big spike in the signal because somebody hits the bed really hard, or maybe you move around a lot in bed and there's a weird spike in the data and you don't want it to trigger an automation. There are other ways to add delays like this into Home Assistant through when you're making automations. This was just a really quick and easy way to be able to change these values to add in a little bit of rejection to some quick events that you don't want to kind of turn your automations on and off very quickly. Most people have these pretty low. That's because they want a nice snappy, I'm in bed, I'm out of bed for triggering events. I actually keep them a little bit higher, a couple of seconds. It does slow down my automations, but it also makes sure that I don't get any, a quick event causing an automation to trigger when I really didn't expect it to. Okay, this last element is just a occupancy sensor. It's just called the bed sensor. It is labeled as clear when you're out of bed, and it is going to say detected when you are in bed. This is the element that you are going to use for your automations to say, if I'm detected, then, trigger whatever it is you want to trigger in Home Assistant. The last element here is actually new. It is called the calibration status. It is an update from 0.3.0. And basically, it is going to tell you a little bit about your auto calibration. This was actually something I added mid-video, I'm editing this video to add this in. It'll tell you whether or not auto calibration is active. It'll tell you how many hours until your next one, and it'll tell you how many hours since your last one. It'll also tell you if you ever do a manual calibration. So if you ever turn this on, it will inform you that it needs to collect 24 hours worth of data before it turns the auto calibration on. You can also change how often the auto calibration happens as well inside the settings. I'm actually going to jump over to the settings. I'm going to scroll down. I will make another video about the details of all these diagnostic settings, which allow you to manipulate your auto calibration and a little bit to do with your signal as well. You can read about every single one of these at docs.asc.com, and I will make another video explaining why you would want to manipulate these and what is the effect of manipulating these. And that's it. Thanks.